to open, and I would ask on the record. Yep.
I'll take roll first, so.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, I think I am ready. Are you good? All right.
I'm calling this meeting to order.
I'm going to take roll. Ms. Ross?
Here.
Mr. Treves?
Here.
Ms. Sundar?
Here.
Mr. Pax? All right. Well, we have a quorum. We have 3, so we can proceed tonight. All right.
The swearing in or?
Well, or would you like for me to kind of give a rundown? Okay. For those in the audience, my name's Julie Donna, and I'm an attorney with Brochus, Johnson & Griggs. Our office represents Orange Township. We're here to help the Board of Zoning Appeals. I was telling the board just before we started today, so the board sits 5 people, and there are only 3 people here, which 3 is a quorum, but the way applications work is any application, regardless of how many board members are here, requires at least 3 votes. And so what that means for the application tonight is that the applicant would have to get 3 yes votes. And so in situations like this, the board likes to at least offer the applicant the opportunity, if they want to request a continuance to next month. If there are more board members, they're welcome to do so. But if they proceed tonight, they. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, and this is great because I know who to actually talk. You're the applicant?
No, we're not.
No? You're the applicant. Okay, wonderful. Can you hear me? Or could you? Okay, wonderful. So basically it takes 3 yes votes, regardless if there are 3 people or 5 people here. And so you are welcome to proceed with your application, but because there are 3 folks here, excuse me, they just want to provide you the opportunity. You're welcome to present your application tonight, but if you do, it just will require unanimous approval. But they do want you to know if you'd like to continue to next month, and when more board members may be present, you're welcome to do so. But it's your choice, again, but just recognizing you got to get 3 yes votes. So.
I'm going to double check the microphone.
Okay, perfect.
It's green.
Yeah. I don't think it's not doing anything.
Well, it must sound out there. Eric, before we get started, at what time could they ask for a continuance? Any time before we vote?
I think that would be the case. So I would be happy to go through the staff report, which is the typical order that we go through things. It's ultimately. Yep.
So, I mean, in terms of efficiency, I think it probably makes, in terms of efficiency, I'd recommend, or, if the applicant wants to consider, we don't, I'd hate for everyone to kind of get halfway through and then say, all right, we're going to press pause, we'll go to next month. And so if the applicant wants to come to the podium and have a discussion, I don't know if you care, if you're comfortable moving forward tonight, that is absolutely your choice. Okay, wonderful.
All right.
But just, how do they know, like, they need a continuance, right? Because we need to express our thoughts before the voting, is that what you're trying to say?
So what I would.
Before the actual vote?
So what I would say is that if he's proceeding with the application tonight, it's with the understanding that this board may take action tonight as well, and it requires 3 yes votes.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is by asking for a continuance, there's no additional monies. It's just a delay to the next month, just in case that was a concern. All right.
Okay.
Let's get started then.
Great.
Want to swear people in? Okay.
Sure.
Wrong paper. Anyone who intends to testify, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? State, "I do," and when it's your turn to offer testimony, please state your full name, address, and affirm that you've been sworn in.
I do.
I do. All right, thank you.
All right, so we have the staff report on the screen for those who would like to follow along with the text format. I'm going to take us through our one and only case tonight, which is a new business case. It's under case number CU-24-32. The applicant and owner of this for this property is Marcus and Candace Pioli. The site is at 2194 Pleasant Colony Drive in Lewis Center. Parcel ID 318-422-04-015-000. This lot is 0.3 acres approximately in size, and the zoning district is single-family planned residential. So this request is seeking a conditional use from section 10.04 of the Orange Township zoning resolution to allow for home occupation in an area zoned single-family planned residential district. So under the summary, that in specific, the business is to allow for the proposed home occupation is to allow for a home, body, art, and tattoo business. I stated the subject site, and for the surrounding area to the north, well, in all four directions, in fact, the zoning district is single-family planned residential. The same thing essentially for the land use, all single-family residences, and Pleasant Colony Drive is located to the north. All right, so for your context views on the using the map, there's Pleasant Colony Drive to the north of this property. You can see it's bounded on each side by other residential, single-family planned residential properties, and it is located in the Wilshire Estates subdivision. Here's a more zoomed-out view coming up. So fairly centered in this large single-family zone subdivision. So since this is a conditional use, I'll move right along into the staff review portion. The conditional use section of the zoning resolution is section 10.04 for home occupations in specific. To start with, 10.04A, home occupations conducted by the resident of a permitted dwelling subject to the following restrictions. I did respond to basically all of these criteria just to make sure we were being thorough, but for your reference, these are the criteria that need to be met in order for the home occupation to proceed. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. All right, so for number one, the home occupation shall be carried on solely within the confines of the residential structures and architecturally compatible accessory buildings, which are customarily associated with the residential use and character of the neighborhood. The applicant indicated the operation will take place entirely within the confines of the home. Number two, only one sign, not larger than 6 square feet and 4 feet in height above grade of the surrounding yard, may be erected advertising the home occupation. The sign may be located at eye level if mounted flat against a building. The sign shall be design compatible with the residential character and shall not be animated or lighted. The applicant has indicated that no signage is being proposed. Number three, the home occupation shall occupy not more than 20% of the total floor area of the dwelling unit or 50% of the combined floor space in any garage or accessory building. The applicant indicated a square footage of 144 square feet to be utilized for the home occupation within a dwelling overall square footage of 1,967 square feet. This represents roughly 7% occupation of the dwelling unit, meeting this standard. All right, number four, no more than one non-resident employee shall work on said premises. The applicant indicated that no non-resident employees will work on the premises. Number five, services may be rendered on the premises or elsewhere. So all services would take place on location, complying with this standard. Number six, all parking demands created by the conduct of home occupation shall be met off the street and other than in a front yard. Off-street parking may be permitted in a side or rear yard but shall not be located any closer to the street than this required setback line. The required number of off-street parking spaces shall equal the spaces required for the residential use plus those required for the commercial use, which constitutes the home occupation. If no parking requirement is given for a particular home occupation, the parking requirements for the most similar commercial use shall be used in order to calculate the required minimum number of spaces. The applicant indicated that the property has a designated parking area that allows clients to park safely without obstructing traffic on public roads or interfering with surrounding traffic patterns. Okay, this is a little bit longer section, but I'll stay with it. And we have 3 more. So number 7, no equipment, process, or storage associated with the home occupation shall create odors, noise, vibration, glare, electrical interference, or other nuisance detectable or normal sense off the lot. All activities, materials, and equipment associated with the business shall be totally maintained within a building. In the case of electrical interference, no equipment or process shall create visual or audible interference in any radio or television receivers or other audio appliances used off the premises, or cause fluctuation in line voltage off the premises. No equipment, process, or storage associated with a home occupation shall create any fire or explosion hazard or involve the storage of or use of hazardous materials in any concentration greater than what would normally be found in a dwelling containing no home occupation. The applicant noted in their application that the proposed use does not create excessive noise, smoke, fumes, or other nuisances associated with the business. Number 8, waste materials, solid or liquid, shall not be created on the premises at a level greater than normal to the residential use unless provisions for the disposition of said wastes are acceptable to the Delaware County Health Department and do not create a burden on adjoining property. In their application, the applicant responds that the proposed use will operate within all health and safety regulations outlined by the Delaware General Health District, ensuring no impact on public water or sewers. Number 9, no activity shall be conducted or permitted which creates a nuisance to neighboring properties. The applicant noted in their application that the proposed use would not pose any hazards to nearby residences. The operational hours will be designed to minimize potential disturbances to the surrounding area. And then finally, we have the tech agency review. There were no comments received from the fire department. I did want to make note, after double checking with the fire department, that this type of a business does not require them to inspect it, so no inspection will be required. I believe that covers the staff review portion. At the request of one of the BZA members, I did want to make a discrepancy or highlight a difference between HOA versus you as the BZA and what requirements we're looking at tonight. So we're only considering the zoning resolution, and that's what we can go by basically and make decisions off of. For the HOA and the HOA's processes, yes, there is Wilshire Estates HOA at this that this property is located within, and I guess technically the homeowners would be subject to the HOA requirements, and that's something that they would have to work out independently, but we do not enforce, apply, or even interpret HOA requirements. We only do the zoning resolution at the BZA, so in the zoning department. So I just wanted to highlight that discrepancy. We aren't looking at anything with the covenants, deed restrictions, property code, none of that tonight. Hopefully that helps clarify for you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions on my staff review or the addendum or whatever you have.
Any questions?
No questions.
Excellent.
The applicant is here, correct?
Yes.
Would you like to address us?
I would, yes.
Please state your name and your address and that you've been sworn in.
Yes, okay. My name is Marcus Paoli. I live at 2194 Pleasant Colony Drive, Lewis Center, Ohio. And yes, I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, thanks for having me out here tonight. I appreciate it. My name is Marcus Paoli. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself. I am an Army veteran. I went in when I was 17, did my time, got out. I have been a corrections officer for the state of Ohio. I've been a sniper for the state of Ohio before going to the sheriff's department, which I work now downtown Franklin County. So I'm a Franklin County Sheriff's deputy. That being said, I've been with them for almost 12 years. I've been on the rescue dive team with them, so I'm very involved with everything that I do. And on the other side of that too, in this business, I'm very particular, if you can imagine, of who I would be allowing into my home anyway. I have 3 young girls. They all go to school locally, Freedom Trail and Orange Middle School. So any concerns in that department, I think with my background, would be checked off our list, or at least I hope they would be. Enough about the background, I guess. So I started tattooing as kind of a art form for myself to, I don't know, I've always been involved in art, some kind of art, sketching, drawing, painting. I do that with my kids as well. And since I started tattooing, I've also kind of shown them how to do it as well, and they like doing it. It's an outlet for me, and a very good one, I think. And also, to the people who I have tattooed before, I've tattooed myself, I've tattooed my wife, I've tattooed close friends, which that is all of who would be coming to my home anyway, because I'm not going to let complete strangers into my home. So it's all going to be word of mouth. Like we said in the packet, there's not going to be any signage. I work full-time, sometimes more than full-time because I do a lot of overtime. So it's only going to be a Saturday and Sunday business, by word of mouth, basically. And I'm just too busy during the week with my girls and home life anyway. So going back to that, the people who I've tattooed, I also want to get into tattooing to help people heal, if that makes any sense. Like one close friend of ours that I tattooed, I did a sleeve for her, a partial sleeve, and to cover up some scars from self-harm. And that was a healing thing that her and I got to do together, and she was grateful for me to do it, but I was also grateful to be a part of that for her. And some goals and aspirations, I would like to get into mastectomy tattooing, because that is another very, very difficult process for women to get over. But other than that, like I said, it's an outlet for me, and I think that's the main reason why I got into it in the first place. It's an art form, and I honestly can say it's not going to generate traffic, maybe one car one day out of a weekend, because that's all that I can actually have time for. You know, I would like to think that people selling on Facebook Marketplace would generate way more traffic than I ever would with this business. I don't know what else to say, actually. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I do.
Okay.
You said there's parking. Where is the parking?
Well, in the neighborhood, we can park out front along the curb or in our driveway.
Okay.
So it's just a regular, like you don't have anything like a,
We don't have anything in excess, no, to a normal residential parking, no.
normal residential parking?
Right.
There is no like visitors parking or any of that sort?
There's not, no,
Okay.
no.
That was my question too. What is the timings we are talking about in the weekend? Like what is the timing you have planned?
Well, I'm off weekends. I have Saturdays and Sundays off. So unless I'm doing overtime on my days off, I'm home all day with my girls. So I would probably say anywhere between the hours of 10 and 7, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., just because that's also what works for my family life, and that's first and foremost the priority, so.
Real questions?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Would anyone else like to speak? Oh,
My name's Alicia St. Germain. I live at 2569 Pleasant Colony Drive. I have been sworn in. I just wanted to, I live in the neighborhood, and there are many people who work from home, many people who have home businesses. The reason that they need to apply for this is so that they can be completely compliant with the health board and do everything above board. And I just wanted to make sure that that was conveyed as well, that this is not something that doesn't happen in these neighborhoods. It's just about being very compliant. That's all I have.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone?
My name is Christine Steitler. I live at 2909 Pleasant Colony Drive, and I've been a resident there for 17 years now. And I appreciate the applicant's service to the community as,
Were you sworn in?
yes, I was sworn in. I appreciate the applicant's service to the community and as a sheriff, but I do feel like this could be a slippery slope to the neighborhood. To my knowledge, our HOA, I'm not on the board, but our HOA says no home businesses. I feel like if there's a zoning allowance for this, that it could create more zoning allowances and maybe undesirable activities that we would not like in our neighborhood. So that's my concern. I understand that, you know, the applicant says maybe 1 or 2 people coming in, but what if his business grows and there's more? We do have, I'm on the end of Pleasant Colony, that's a straightaway towards Walker Woods Boulevard, and the traffic is horrible there. The speed of people is horrible there. It's going to be it's going to be when, not if, that an accident happens in our neighborhood because of the speeders. So that's a concern too. Again, if the business grows or if other businesses are allowed to make zoning changes as well, what would happen to our neighborhood? So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Lisa McAveen, 7740 Peck Court. I live in the neighborhood, and I was sworn in. I have the same concerns. We have other people in the neighborhood. One is trying to run a repair shop on the corner. The other one supposedly runs a beauty shop out of her house. If we give, it's a residential community. Our values are all 550 and above. If we start allowing this, it's going to create a slippery slope and let other people, why not me? Why can't I run a business out of my house? And I just want to protect our values in the neighborhood. I'm in the real estate industry. And if there's a lot of business, it'll create traffic and could affect our values as well.
Thank you.
Alicia St. Germain, do you need that again? The 2569 Pleasant Colony Drive, I have been sworn in. I know that we're not here to bring in the HOA piece. That's something that has to be worked out with the HOA, but as you're considering, I do want you to understand that the HOA does actually allow businesses. They do not allow businesses to be run in the neighborhood that generate traffic and follow many of the same guidelines that were just covered regarding signage and parking and traffic. And so there's actually in our HOA, which I have here, if you need to see that, as you're considering, that's actually something that they would have to work out with the HOA, and also that our HOA actually has exceptions that allow for home businesses as long as they operate under certain guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
Christine Steitler, 2909 Pleasant Colony Drive. And I understand what she's saying. However, in our HOA, I believe it's 70 or 75% of the residents need to respond to a vote to make any changes. When the high school approached us about buying some of our land for practice fields, our HOA leaders did a fabulous job of trying to get everybody involved and get the votes needed, whether yes or no, and they still couldn't even get 70% people responding to that. So if they can't respond to that for our schools, then I'm not sure how they're going to respond to this. So it doesn't seem like the HOA has much power. There's been other issues in the HOA that they've been frustrated with. So the zoning, I think, would help protect us.
But
Thank
the
you.
zoning provides for lots of things, so I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
And board, I think it has been touched on, but just to really reiterate, obviously, you folks are charged with enforcement of the zoning resolution, the homeowners association, the deed restrictions, the declaration, that's obviously something else, and that's something that the owner is responsible, he's got to comply with both. But obviously, for your purposes, your concern is the zoning resolution. So again, I think valid comments and all that sort of thing, but just to put a finer point on it all.
Ma'am, in front.
I was not sworn in. I didn't raise my hand. So when you did.
Sure. Can you go ahead and do that?
Anyone who intends to testify, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? State I do, and when it's your turn to testify, state your full name and address and affirm that you've been sworn in.
I do. Yvonne Jones, 2187 Ben Brush Place, Lewis Center, and I was sworn in. I just have a couple, I guess, questions for clarification. The information that is presented tonight on the application, should the person decide or business decide to change, do they come back to request an amendment to the application? And I'm specifically thinking about there's no sign. Now, what if they decide to put up a sign later? Must they come back? That's my first question.
Eric, do you want to field that one?
Sure. Just to drill down onto the sign, that is described as number 2 of section 10.04A criteria, and I'll read it again so everyone's on the same page. Only one sign not larger than 6 square feet and 4 feet in height above grade of the surrounding yard may be erected advertising the home occupation. The sign may be located at eye level if mounted flat against a building. The sign shall be of a design compatible with residential character and shall not be animated or lighted. So I think as long as they're in compliance with that piece of code, that's one thing. But if we're talking about expanding the business to be a bigger format than what is being presented tonight, so there is code kind of in the heading of section 10.04. It says that if generally, unless the conditional, let's see. So they shall be required to reapply for continuation and or modification of such use of the from the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm trying to see exactly where it states that when changes are made to make it larger, they would need to come before the board again, but I'll see, maybe Julie wants to step in.
And I agree with what Eric said, but at the end of the day, what the applicants have submitted, that's what the board is being asked to approve.
Yep.
If it is the will of the board to approve the application, that's what they're getting approval for. If they want to change that, they'd have to come back to the township. So if it would be a bigger footprint, if it would be a change in the business itself, all of those things, they'd have to come back. It's not a situation of, I've got a home occupation permit, I can now have any home occupation there. It's just what they've presented, that's what they would have approved.
Okay, that answers my question.
Okay.
I have a concern. We've been residents for 24 years, and we have watched our development grow, and I'm talking about growing in the sense of toddlers to becoming preteens to now they're drivers. So parking is a concern because we do have, now there are multiple cars in homes from whereas 24 years ago it might have been just one or two working. Now it's 3 and 4 and parking on the street, and that's in our entire development. So that is a concern.
Okay, thank you.
And
Yes,
Eric,
sir. What?
oh, Eric, I have a question for you with regard to that.
Sure.
Under number 6, it says, in your staff review, it says all parking demands created by the conduct of a home occupation shall be met off the street. So that means there will be no customer parking on the street, is that correct?
Yeah, that's a correct interpretation. And so there is a driveway. That driveway presents the opportunity to park in it with enough space for at least side-by-side vehicles.
But they would not be permitted to have customers park on the street. Enforce it.
Yeah, parking demand shall be met off of the street, correct?
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Marcus Paoli again, 2194 Pleasant Colony Drive, Lewis Center, Ohio. I just wanted to address a couple things that were said. As far as growth, like I said before, I have a full-time, more than 80-hour or 40-hour week job. Growth is impossible for me right now. And I have roughly 13, 14 more years till I retire. And at that point, if I wanted to pursue tattooing anymore, then that would be a whole different ballgame. And I probably wouldn't do it from home anymore because I wouldn't have to be at home with young kids. And I'm sorry. I'll try to. Okay. Like I said, I have almost probably roughly 13, 14 years before I can retire from the sheriff's department. So growth it's really not an option for me, period. So it would, like I said before, it would be one person, one day on either a Saturday or a Sunday, parking in our driveway. It would be like a friend coming over for a cup of coffee or a hangout at night. We've been in the neighborhood almost 11 years now. We moved in 14, so yeah, something like that, November 14. We keep to ourselves. I always help my surrounding neighbors. We don't have a lot of people over all the time. So I would hope that would kind of cure any misconceptions about a full-time tattoo shop with a parking lot and who knows who's coming into tattoo shops. These will be close friends, close relatives, friends of friends, word of mouth, no signage, no advertising, simply word of mouth. What were the other concerns? Sorry. The parking. I think that's it. Yeah, and the only reason why this is being brought to our attention and to this township anyway is so that we can do it the right way. I'm a deputy sheriff. I like to follow the rules. So I'm trying to do things the right way. Otherwise, I could have been just doing it in my house for who knows how long. Nobody would ever be the wiser because of nobody coming over, not big groups of people. And I just want to do things lawfully, the right way, with approval. And especially for the close friends and family that I do have come over, I can be like, yeah, I did that. I got my certification. I got approval from the board. I got Delaware County Health approval, and it's all set to go. You have nothing to worry about. So, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add, I mean,
Wait till you're-
Lisa McAveen, 7740 Pet Court. What I'm afraid of is our HOA has no power, and the precedent, like I said before, that this sets. In our HOA, we're not allowed to have rentals. People are renting their house. I live in a double court. So neighbor across the street rented their house. The people they rented to were running a church out of their house. Every weekend, we had 40 cars parked in our courts that we could not even get an emergency vehicle out. The HOA was helpless. And that's why I'm hoping that you will not start a precedent of people running businesses out of their house in a residential neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you mind speaking to the difference between a hearing here and the way we address each case, and how precedence works?
Absolutely. So, Ms. Ross asked me to speak about precedent, and, because that's a concern that comes up frequently in these types of hearings, that if you permit one thing, it just blows the door open, and so the next person that comes in and asks for something, the concern is that you have to grant it. And that's not the case, especially with respect to conditional uses. The purpose of a conditional use is the township has identified certain things in certain zoning districts can be permitted and approved and appropriate in certain situations, if they meet the specific guidelines. And if, for the BZA's purpose, if a home occupation is identified as a conditional use, and if that use meets the criteria, then the board shall approve it. But each application is different, just like each home occupation is like each business. Again, you can imagine a situation that, and I think the applicant walked through a couple of different scenarios where an at-home tattoo establishment could look different in a variety of ways. So, a valid concern is it's a valid concern that if the board takes action tonight, that will set a precedent one way or another. But at the end of the day, your legal obligation is to review each application on its own to determine, based on the evidence and testimony provided, if it meets the criteria set forth in the code.
Thanks.
Thank you.
No, since we were going through some public comment, if the board would like to hear the email comment from the public that I received, I had 4 pieces of public comment that I can share. And I will also mention that these all should be printed off and in your packets. So the first was for, let's see, I should say from 2204 Pleasant Colony Drive, the homeowner Raj Yadav. He states, Dear Zoning Board, I am writing to offer my support for Paoli's as they pursue approval for their in-home business. I have had the pleasure of knowing them for 4 years and can vouch for their integrity and commitment to our community. Both Marcus Paoli and Candace Paoli are dedicated first responders, which speaks to their strong character and work ethic. I believe that this business will have minimal impact on our neighborhood as it will operate as a side job and is unlikely to generate significant traffic or noise. I trust that Paoli's will conduct their business in a way that respects the peace and well-being of our community. Thank you for considering my endorsement of Paoli's venture. Next one is from Mary Geller at 2193 Pleasant Colony. She states, Dear Zoning Board, I am writing to express my support for Marcus and Candace Paoli as they seek their approval of their in-home business. Having known them for over 9 years, I can confidently say that they are upstanding members of our community and both serving as first responders in their primary careers. I believe this business will not impact our neighborhood negatively as it is intended to be a side job and will likely not increase traffic or disturbance in our area. Marcus and Candace Paoli are responsible individuals, and I trust that they will manage their business in a way that is considerate of all neighbors. Thank you for considering my support of Marcus and Candace Pioli's endeavor. All right, and the third one I noted this, although it's not in the email, 2207 Pleasant Colony Drive, Christel Lowther, to whom it may concern, as a neighbor of the Kleperic family, referring to the Pioli family, I want to share that there are no concerns about the new in-home business. And then the one that I received, the last one that I received is from Thomas Bechtel at 2186 Pleasant Colony Drive. He states, I recently received notice of public hearing about one of my neighbors requesting a zoning variance on their property. I spoke with them. They explained the situation. I don't have concerns. I do have a couple of points that I'd like clarified from the township's perspective. What specific limitations does this change require them to abide by? And what happens when they are no longer owning the property? Does it retain the new zoning, or does it revert back to the original SFPRD zone? And I responded to that and stated, number one, section 10.04 outlines all of the criteria for consideration, so I copied and sent him 1 through 9 for his review. And then to speak to what happens if they no longer own the property, you can think of a conditional use as running along with the property unless specific conditions are put on that conditional use to state that it would not continue with the transference of the property to new ownership. And what I wanted to say to that is, I'll read the text for you for your awareness. The conditional uses shall be considered and declared abandoned if said use or uses are not commenced within 1 year or are discontinued for a period in excess of 2 years, unless the conditional use permit specifically provides that the grant shall be permanent and shall run with the land, the sale or conveyance of the land or structure wherein the same is located or upon which the same is granted shall void the conditional use permit, and the subsequent owners or his agent shall be required to reapply for continuation or modification of such use to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So it's ultimately up to you if you wanted to put the condition or conditions on this conditional use. But I hope if you wanted to kind of repackage what I said, but that's how I was interpreting that it would run with the land unless conditions were put on it otherwise.
I think that's I think the language of your zoning resolution does permit the board to, if the bill is to approve the application, you are able to put additional conditions on the approval. And one of those conditions can be that the approval sticks with this property owner, and if the property is sold, the conditional use permit is null and void. And if the next owner of the property, if they want to have the same home occupation, they have to come back here and reapply and have a whole new hearing and all that.
And that is all I had for the public comment.
Wouldn't the same be true if they wanted to change a business or increase the square footage used or anything like that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the application in front of you is what they're asking approval for. If they want to expand that, expand the footprint in their house, they want to change the business, they would have to come back here. And everyone, again, the same notices would go out, so the community would be notified the same way.
Yeah.
Yep. And in terms of next steps, again, I know it's been a while since I've been out here. Obviously the board can continue to ask questions. If you want to ask the applicant if he has additional feedback based on the public comment, that'd be fine. And then just as a reminder, the board does have the ability to go into private deliberations if you.
Ma'am?
Just one other statement, well, maybe a couple, but thank you for the clarification as far as the homeowners and the trustee. Now, I do have an understanding of that, and I also wanted to, I can't quite get in my head the difference between what he's asking, the conditional, and if someone had a childcare in their home, or they actually, I'll just say babysitting that goes on in their home, because our
Ma'am,
yards, yes.
would you state your name?
I'm so sorry. Yes, Yvonne Jones, 2187 Ben Brush Place.
Thank you.
Okay. The difference between those, because I truly do believe, and I have to, I'm trying to be equitable with this, thinking about the homeowners, but also thinking about my neighbor. Everything that he said was true. Our yards have been bordering, and my husband keeps nudging me with, it's okay. So I had to come up and say that and get that clarification.
So, and obviously I can't speak to, if there's a particular situation that.
There's not.
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
just-
But, so a daycare in a home, so what your zoning resolution, anticipates situation where somebody has a home and they want to operate some type of business out of their home. It doesn't your zoning resolution doesn't specify what type of business that could be. There are limitations on that to provide folks with the flexibility of what business looks like these days. But certainly somebody who wanted to operate don't want to say babysitting because that sounds so small, but more of a daycare facility. They would also, they could, if there was a true daycare facility, they could apply for a home occupation. They'd be subject to the same criteria and that type of thing. So,
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
not a
You're
problem.
welcome. Anyone else?
I'd like to move that we enter into private deliberations.
Okay, I'll second that.
Sure. All right, I'll take a vote. Move to enter into private deliberation made by Ms. Ross, seconded by Mr. Treves. Those voting, Ms. Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Treves,
Yes,
and Ms. Newdart.
Yes.
All right.
we'll be right back.
move to come back to the session made by Mr. Trev, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Ms. Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Trevs,
Yes.
and Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
Okay.
Last chance for any comments. Okay. I move to approve, based on these factors, I move to approve case number CU 24-32 for the property located at 2194 Pleasant Colony Drive, Lewis Center, Ohio 43035, seeking a conditional use from Section 10.04A of Orange Township zoning resolutions to allow for the operation of a home occupation in-home body art and tattoo business as outlined in the request above and in the area zone single-family planned residential district, SFPRD, subject to, we have two conditions. Number one is the conditional use permit shall not run with the land and shall terminate upon the sale or conveyance of the land to another owner. Number two, all parking shall be within the driveway and shall not be on the public street.
I second.
Okay. Motion to approve with the two conditions, subject to the two conditions made by Mr. Trevs, seconded by Ms. Sundar. Those voting, Mr. Trevs,
Yes.
Ms. Sundar,
Yes.
and Ms. Ross.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries.
Thank you. That is the end of our official business, right?
Yeah, that's all
Except we
we,
have a few things to talk about, minutes and things, but
sure. And I wanted to mention with Mr. Pax here, he's welcome to take a seat. I think we'll have a brief discussion about minutes tonight because I hadn't heard from all of you on the minutes, but
Okay.
let me allow Mr. Pax his seat.
and thank you all. You do not have to stay for the the boring part of the meeting.
So I had just the September minutes because I think that those were the most recent, the September should be the most recent minutes, and you all have received those. If you wanted more time to review, no problem at all. So just wanted to open it up to the board to find your opinion.
I have not reviewed them. If
Totally fine.
If the other members of the board are okay moving forward with it,
Did you
that's fine.
review
If you want to wait, we can.
Sure. Okay. So, just to confirm, Ms. Ross, she stated that she hasn't reviewed. However, if the other board members are feeling okay with moving ahead and approving those September minutes, she is open to that as well.
Okay, hang on a second.
I just have a question. Do I need
sure.
anything?
Oh.
I don't know the process from here on out.
Well, we don't have any kind of permit filing or anything like that. We will be sending out a response letter to confirm the outcome of tonight, and that will include the conditions as well. So you can expect to receive that via the mail. If you need a digital copy, we'll get that to you as well.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm okay to move on.
Okay. So
So-
we can approve the minutes as amended.
Yep, and I did receive at least one comment, so I'll double check if there were any I mean, they were all pretty short, so, yep, you can feel free to make a motion along those lines.
Okay. I move that we accept the September minutes as amended.
A second?
Motion to approve, made by Mr. Trev, seconded by Mrs. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Trevs,
Yes.
Mrs. Ross,
Yes.
Ms. Sundar,
Yes.
and Mr. Pax. All right, and those minutes are now approved.
Cool.
And I don't have any other items on the agenda tonight.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
All in favor?
Aye. That's one that's almost